This episode of The Tales Behind the Talent is sponsored by Avain Language Services. If you need proofreading of English texts, translations between Swedish, English and Finnish, or private teaching in Swedish and English, please do not hesitate to contact avainservices@gmail.com. The following messages will only be in Finnish. Stay tuned for the episode. Kauppuri 5 on toteuttanut iskulausettaan krapulan hoitoa ja hankintaa jo vuodesta 2010. Kauppuri on käynyt läpi monta muodonmuutosta ja kehittänyt itseään vuodesta toiseen. Vuosi koronaa on nyt takana ja kauppuri on edelleen pystyssä, mutta veitsin terällä ollaan. Pelastetaan kauppuri yhdessä on Facebook-tapahtuma, jonka tiimolta ravintola pyritään pelastamaan. Mukana on suuri joukko yhteistyökumppaneita ja muita yrityksiä. Sun nimi, Vanerilaatta, oli hetkellisen päähänpiston kautta välittömästi toteutettu idea. Yksityishenkilö tai yritys voi ostaa itselleen paikan kauppurin katosta 20 euron kappale hintaan. Kauppuri 5 täyttää 16.4. jo 11 vuotta ja on siis lunastanut paikkansa tärkeänä osana Oulun ravintolaskeneä. Auta pelastamaan kauppuri. Lisätietoa Facebook-tapahtumasta. Hello there, dear listener, wherever you might be. Welcome to another episode of The Tales Behind the Talent. And this time, as my guest, I have Rauli Alaruikka, and I'm gonna let the gentleman introduce himself a little bit.
Hello. Yeah, I'm a bass player, vocalist, and let's say a multitasker in various different areas in the music industry.
Briefly put, but well put, I would say. Let's get down to business. How did you get introduced to music?
Well, I think I'm not sure what would be like the single most important point in my life, but I would put there like few key points. I remember, I think I was 5 years old, and I have two big sisters. The other one had a friend there at our place at sleepover, and she had a C cassette of Metallica's "And Justice for All" album. And of course, as a youngster, I liked to spy on my sisters, especially when they had their friends. So I heard the music, and for some reason it sounded really good to me. So what did I do? When they went to have a sauna, I stole the cassette.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, of course, I was caught of it later on a later occasion, but my big sister's friend was so kind that she made a copy out of it to me afterwards.
So you can listen to it without her on your own.
Okay. Precisely. So, and I think I still have the cassette somewhere in the drawer.
Yeah.
And probably the other point would be when my other big sister listened very much of the Prodigy's music for the Childhood Generation album. That was one that really stuck to me, and it still has been like on my playlist all over the years. So I listen to it several times in a year still. And the latest, and probably the one that had the most important effect on me, was when I was 12, and I saw the Emperor's Anthem to the Welking at Dusk CD in the music library of the municipality of Rovaniemi.
Yeah.
And I just had heard like from the big boys that this is the shit, so I had to loan it, and I still remember like the jaw-dropping moment when I first listened to it, and that got me introduced into extreme metal.
Yeah, so you went from Metallica to Prodigy to extreme or black metal.
Yeah, and like I think there were something in between as well, but I think those were probably the three most affecting key points to my how I was introduced to music.
Yeah. At what point did you start to think that music would be something that you would like to do more in the future yourself?
I guess that probably around when I was 14, when I wanted to start to learn how to play guitar. So I think that was the point. when I wanted to be able to play and to compose music in the future.
Okay. So did you start playing music yourself, or was it someone else in your life, or was it did you start playing in school in a music class, or did you already play something before that?
Well, I think there was music was one area that are taught in the school. So yeah, I participated there, but I think I just wanted to learn how to play guitar, and I told my mother about it. So she bought a guitar for me and signed me up for guitar lessons.
Yeah.
And that was around when I was 14.
Okay. So at 14. Have you always been excited about music after you got introduced to it, or has there been a break in your enthusiasm, for example, during the late teenage years, or has it been straightforward music enthusiasm after you started playing yourself?
Yeah, well, I think the enthusiasm has been there around since I heard the Emperor album, so from the age of 12. Of course it is a bit more or less seasonal, that sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but it has always been there ever since.
Okay. So when did you first start playing in a band with other people, and what kind of a project was that?
Well, I think the first time I played in a band was in my senior year at the upper secondary school, at our last day in school, which is a kind of like a party, and there is a theme. So we formed a few different bands there to perform different songs, and I think that was the first time I ever was playing in a band, in front of an audience.
Okay.
I performed one song with the bass and the other song with vocals.
So,
No. I just remembered that actually the first time was in the senior year in the upper secondary school, during our 80s day, where I was performing vocals for AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, and Iron Maiden. Still have the videotape for it, and it's really funny to look how shitty I was, but still I got the balls to do it because nobody else wouldn't do it.
And that's kind of a similar situation to me, because when there was the seniors day in my high school or upper secondary school, and somebody had to play Paranoid on guitar, and I didn't know how to play guitar really, but it was me who ended up playing Paranoid. It went actually pretty well, but I didn't know how to play the solo, but it was something that the guitar players didn't want to play live, so it ended up on my desk, so to speak.
Kind of funny thing, because it's a classic song, so why didn't they want to play it?
Yeah, I think it was if they play it wrong, or if it's too corny or something like that. I don't know. But how about, when did you kind of form your first band that outside of school life, that would be like a band activity in a way?
Yeah, I think there was this event organized by the music library of the city of Rovaniemi, which was called Library Rock, where all the local bands could sign up to perform. And I think that was actually the first time I was ever in a concert as well. I think back when I was 10 or 11 or something like that. And then, of course, the years went by, and I started to play guitar myself, and I changed it to bass. So to that event, I think it was when I was I 16 or 17 or something like that. And I just thought that it would be fun to make a cover band playing nu metal songs just out of laughs.
Yeah.
And I just called to my friends and said that I had this wacky idea, and I don't know like why it was like the nu metal thing, because we all didn't like that much nu metal, so it was kind of like a forbidden fruit. But for some reason it was just like out of laugh and as a joke. And actually with that group we ended up performing like in 3 similar kind of events, playing stuff like Cold Chamber, Korn, Drowning Pool, Slipknot, and stuff like that.
So when did you first play in a band that made its own material then? If that was that was a cover band kind of.
Yeah, it actually evolved like pretty much from that group. Like we only had a change of a drummer there who moved. The original drummer moved from Rovaniemi, so we had to get another drummer, and then we started to think like it would be fun to make our own music, and that was Ravage Machinery, which is still active. And I think that was around 2001 or 2.
Yeah. So that's been going on for 20 years.
Yeah, well, more or less so.
Yeah.
No, actually, now that I figure it was not that early. I think it was like 2004. Yeah, 2004. Yeah. I think it's the year when we formed it, the late 2004. Yeah. So almost 20 years.
Yeah. So did you start as a bass player?
Yes, I was the bass player there.
And nowadays you're a vocalist. So
yeah.
When did that transition happen for you?
Well, our previous singer moved to Turku to study there, and he was still in a band like after that for like maybe 2 years. But I think it was 2011 or 2012 when he decided to quit, and we had some gigs already coming, and we tried to get a new singer, like put an announcement to different places that we were looking for a singer, but we didn't got any replies from anyone who would be interested in that. And still we got the shows were coming, so I figured that it would be easier to find a bass player than a vocalist, so I decided that I will do the vocals for those 3 gigs that we had coming. And after those 3 gigs, it was like a mini tour with Sadistic Forest and a band from St. Petersburg called Septory. And afterwards, there came such a good feedback out of my performance that you should have been the vocalist from the start and stuff like that. And because our the fill-in bass player Samuli was into our music and was able to like join the band, so we figured that it would be easiest solution for me to change the vocals and Samuli enter as a bass player.
Okay, so had you been doing vocals in that kind of a range before, like growls and screams and everything that you do in the band? So, or did you have to kind of learn it for that occasion, or was it familiar to you?
Yeah, it was familiar because like we had some band projects like earlier where I was doing the vocals. We never recorded anything, and at that time, or maybe with those bands, it was not. It didn't felt like my cup of tea at the time, and I had been doing like the backup vocals with bass, so it was already familiar stuff for me.
So it wasn't a completely cold transition to that. So.
No, not at all, and like I said, that I in the upper secondary school senior year I was doing the vocals there. Well, of course not growling like in the 80s day, but like our like the last party there, I was already doing growling,
Yeah.
performing Children of Bottom's hate me. No, not hate me, Every Time I Die.
Yeah. Okay. So, how about bass then? How have you been training bass since you started playing it?
Well, at first I started to like learn it myself, because like after 2 years of guitar playing, it just didn't felt like my instrument. And then I had like the beginner's mistake of thinking that bass would be much more easier because it has 2 less strings on it. But how wrong was I?
Yeah.
But I got my friend's bass. Like I loaned it from my friend, and I started to like practicing some songs that I liked. I looked up some notes, chords, or tabs from internet, and then I started to feeling like, this is more kind of my thing.
Yeah.
And I have took some few classes, like at my friends, who actually has been like the bass solo master of Finland for three times. And of course, like on a later occasion on my studies, when I was studying as a sound technologist in the city of Tornio, of course there was also instrument teaching there.
So you started on your own, but you then have been taking classes, and I think that's how it usually happens, that people usually start playing by themselves. And then, do you think that it would be beneficial for people to take lessons, or is it something that if it doesn't suit you, you just should teach yourself? Because that's a question that I have asked other people too, who have been as a guest on this program or podcast.
Yeah, well, of course it's beneficial. Like nobody knows the things unless you're taught of the things. Or, well, of course you can figure out something out of yourself too. But like, of course, if there is somebody who has more skills in it and can teach you, then of course it's beneficial. And I can strongly recommend to that everyone. I haven't been like the best student in that way, because I do understand like the theory of music and that kind of stuff. It's not like the most interesting part, because most people just want to play, but like in the end it will be beneficial for you in so many ways, like in composing and jamming and other kind of stuff. So highly recommended.
Let's go to first shows. So we already talked about you performing a little bit, but you currently have 4 bands going on, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're singing in 1 and then playing bass in 3, or
doing the backup vocals as well.
So when did you start in these other projects, and was Ravage Machinery for you like a solo, not a solo but a single project in your life for some time, or have you had like other projects the whole time in a way?
Yeah, the Ravage Machinery was like on my main focus for a very long time. I like when I was living in Rovaniemi still, and at Rovaniemi I was for like, was it like a year or year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I was in a like a 80s glam metal band called Rockamania at one point. And when I moved to Oulu, then I joined From the Void, which is also originally from Rovaniemi. And I think this was like in 2014, I guess, or 14 or 15. And then in 2018, I joined Iku-Turso and Suotana, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So let's talk about From the Void for a moment. So how did you knew the guys from Rovaniemi, or did you have just that thing in common when you joined?
I knew them already from Rovaniemi.
Yeah.
As I was there organizing gigs since 2010 with the non-profit music association Arctic Live Entertainment that I was part of, like one of the founding members, and I was acting as the president for it till the 2019. So naturally, the music scene was quite familiar in Rovaniemi, and especially in metal area.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the first shows with From the Void with you, because I think that Ravage Machinery and From the Void are quite different kind of music.
Yes.
So what was it like to play that kind of more like it's like black metal, but also like atmospheric and melancholic in a way, I would describe that. And it's not as fast as Ravage Machinery. So what was it like to play that kind of music?
Well, I don't think that it was like too. Of course, it is a different kind of music in different genre, but like I don't see that there was like too much difference there. Well, I or at least like music wise, of course, it's more mid tempo than fast. But I think the single most biggest difference is about the performance, since as it is black metal with the corpse paint, and we had the designed outfits for the live shows, and in Ravage Machinery we just wear what we want, so it's not like coordinated thing. So I think that was probably the biggest difference there.
So with Iku-Turso, do you also have the same kind of you dress to the theme in a way?
Yeah, well, in Iku-Turso is kind of like somewhere in between from the Void and Ravage Machinery, because we have the corpse paints, but we don't have like that strict outfits for the live performances. So it can vary there more than in From the Void.
Yeah, and then again in Suotana you have a different kind of outfit then. And
yeah, it's especially like designed, and like we have, well, of course we can, like if we want we can tune it up ourselves more or less, but it's like the main thing there is the same with everyone, but like we can add some details there if we want.
Yeah, so that seems to be a big part of the whole of each project, to kind of does it feel mentally always different when you dress up in a certain way for a certain show? So do you have like a mentality to it in a way?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just like with the dressing up. I think it's, for me it's like when I go to the stage, I will try to have a different kind of mentality there, because when I'm at the stage, I'm performing there, and I'm not like my civil me, in so to speak. Like I have the duty of the bass or the vocals there, and I'm performing their music, and I'm performing to people, entertaining them. So of course it's like in that way a different mentality there. And the 45 minutes or 1 hour or whatever is the duration of the show, I'll try to keep in that state of mind, and afterwards I just come back to being myself again.
Yeah, and it's related to each project, and
yeah, well, sure, there are like different things. Like for example, in the black metal bands, there are no like middle speeches between the songs, and you're like more how would I say, like you're not that active like with the audience in those. I'm not sure if reserved is like the correct word, but something like that. But like with the Suotana and Ravage Machinery, you can like make contact, direct contact.
It's more interactive.
Yeah, precisely interactive. Yeah, that's the word.
Okay, so how about publications with each project? So the first Ravage Machinery albums have been your first publications, I would guess then,
or probably like the demos of the band.
And how has it been felt like getting your music recorded?
Well, it's a kind of mixed up feelings, because you never get the songs recorded like in one shot. So you are of course excited, but then you're still again like more or less disappointed, like how shitty you are playing, because it's way much different playing in a live and while recording, because in recordings you're not allowed to make any mistakes, and well, of course in live performance the mistakes should be like in minimum, but it's not like the end of the world if there happens one mistake. So, and
I think that it's a part of the performance that you kind of expect something different to happen. If every band sounds exactly like they sound on the album, it's I think that it lacks some spirit to it. If there's kind of a human touch, if there's some sound at least.
I totally agree, and I think also that bands, it would be great if the bands have like slightly different arrangements for the live versions, because like everybody can listen to the records at home, but if they come to the live show, the music is like the 50%, the performance is the other 50%, and if there is like some variation in the songs, like it's always like a bonus.
But of course, the songs usually sound different and they feel different, because usually people don't have that kind of PA systems and everything at home. So they have the subwoofers and they feel the music, and
precisely,
and they can hear the music very much louder from those festival or venue grade speakers.
Yeah, and the atmosphere is totally different, that there are other people also watching, and you're actually seeing the band and maybe interacting with the band and stuff like that.
So then let's talk about the question that I ask everybody, which is when was the first time that you thought that the hard work with music is starting to pay off? And before I let you answer, this is something that is not necessarily measured in money or publicity or anything like that, but just for yourself. Like you have been doing that for playing music for a while. So when did it kind of reach that point that you decided that, okay, I'm going to continue doing this, and it's worth the hard work behind doing all the music, everything to do with the music?
Or can it be like or are you asking me like when I felt that this was all like worth doing?
Yeah.
Well, I would think that there are 2 points for that, and I think the first one was back in 2013 when the drummer of the ex-drummer of the Man-Eating Tree band, Vesa Ranta, who was also the drummer of Sentenced, called me and asked me that, hey, you play bass? And yeah, sure, I do. Well, we have like few gigs coming. Would you like to come to fill in, as our bass player is unavailable? And I was like what the hell? Why is he calling to me? Like I think I even asked him that why the hell are you calling to me? Like, yeah, sure. Like you could come to. And, yeah, sure, of course, naturally.
Yeah.
And so in that time, and I had like two shows with them, and from the later show there was this one point where I had that feeling. It was in Helsinki, in the now demolished venue Nosturi. It was warming up for Amorphis, and it was the New Year's Eve on 2013. Sold out venue, and I think it was either the second or the third song. I think like the second song, which started like with the guitar, and Vesa was giving the beat from the hi-hat, and as I didn't have any bass lines there, I just turned it backwards to grab a sip of the beer that I had, and I saw Vesa, and he was like showing me thumbs up, like good work, good going. And at that point, like it just got to me that I'm now sharing the stage with Vesa Ranta, the drummer of Sentenced, that I have listened like already to that point, like 15 years or something like that. And he's showing me like thumbs up, like now it's going well. So that was like the single biggest moment, the first one, that I thought that now it's all like worth this, that because I wouldn't have ever dreamed of doing that kind of thing like with him. And I think the second point was 2017 when we won with From the Void the Wacken Metal Battle Finland, and we got to play in Wacken open air, and it was on Wednesday, the first day of the festival. I think our show was like 2:30 or something like that PM, like during the day, and I was like thinking that there probably won't be too many people to see us, as we were performing like in a very big tent, which capacity was like 10,000 people or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Tent.
Yeah, that's a huge tent. It actually had like a dual stage there that were joined together, and a really huge screen like in the middle. So I was thinking that probably there will be like few hundred people at max. And I remember like before our show, I just heard like the crowd was there's probably like a little more people than that. And when the curtains opened and I saw like 2/3 of the tent capacity was like full, and I was like holy shit, like this many people to see our little shitty band, and like in the middle of the day in the first day of the festival, and that was like really something.
It really describes how big of a festival Wacken is. In a way, because if that's the turnout for the first show, so what's the turnout for the headliners and everything like that?
Yeah, precisely. And I think it was also a bit, maybe I heard like afterwards that since we were the only black metal band in the competition, like, and representing Finland, so I think that was probably one thing that was making people interested in seeing there. But but still, like I couldn't have imagined that many people would have been there to see us, and it felt absolutely amazing.
So was that the biggest show you played, or was it the Man-Eating Tree one?
The Wacken definitely is bigger, because the capacity of Nosturi was less than 2,000, I think. Yeah. But of course it's a sold out venue, but naturally the Wacken felt better because it was with my own band, and I was not like the substitute bass player for them.
Of course. And I remember discussing this with you, so the singer, and he said that it was you were told that it was a tent. So when you came there and you realized, okay, it's a tent, but it's a tent the size of a football field, basically. So did you know ahead of that time that it would be such a big tent that you were going to play in?
I don't remember at what point we knew that, but we did knew that like in advance, for maybe like some days in advance, but we didn't like that it was a tent. I think the capacity of the tent was brought to our attention like during the day when we were like getting our gear there, and then when we saw like the running order of the festival, that with the same stages there, with the same stage as us performed later on the festival, bands like Annihilator, Cannibal Corpse, Nile, Batushka, that kind of like really serious big artists.
So let's talk about your current situation for a bit. So you're currently in 4 different projects at the moment, and how is each project going on? Usually I have people over who are at tops two bands, but how does it go with 4 bands?
Yeah, well, it of course naturally takes a little bit scheduling, but then again, like for example, Ravage Machinery, the last time we have had shows has been like 2017, so it has been a while. We are been like composing new stuff, and it has like kind of like prolonged. We have already like the material for our upcoming album. It has been more or less ready already like over a year, but we haven't been able to record it yet. But we are planning to record it within this year and hopefully during the summer.
Yeah.
So it hasn't took that much of time for me lately. Well, Iku-Turso is like, it's not performing live like naturally without the pandemic. Like we have had only like 1 show, and we have 2 upcoming shows. So, and it's kind of like the idea of the band also that we only want to play like how would I say that, we want to carefully choose like where we play, and we don't want to play like too much just like the chosen few events.
Yeah.
And with From the Void, it has been more performing, and with Suotana it has been like the idea behind that band is to like perform as many gigs as possible. And well, I think like I would have add to those 2 biggest moments to me in my music, with Suotana performing in Japan, if it would have happened like without, if this pandemic wouldn't have ruined everything. So I think that would have been great, and I really am looking forward of it, that we would be able to do that after this plague has ended.
Yeah, let's certainly hope so.
So pretty much like the bands, like back to your question, the bands have like different statuses at the moment. So it has been easier in that way, because like not all the bands are as active as each other.
Yeah. So is Suotana the most active at the moment? I know that you've been recording a new album or new songs at least.
Yeah, we have recorded drums for the next release, and made already the music video to that release as well. And I would think that like live wise, Suotana is the most active, but I think recording wise, Iku-Turso is probably the most active in there, because we have already recorded our 3rd album.
Yeah.
And I just and at the previous weekend I recorded drums for 1 song for our upcoming split release, and on the following weekend I will be recording drums for the next 2 splits of Iku-Turso, and there is even the 4th split is on the plans for this year, and maybe 1 EP as well. So it's producing music pretty much more than the 3 other bands of mine, like in combined.
Yeah, okay. So that's like a more studio heavy project in a way.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're heading towards the end of the interview, but first about the future plans. You can talk about the future plans of each project, or you can combine them in your own words, like how you would imagine your future with these projects, and your musical career in general?
Well, I would say that like each of the projects have new material coming. The Iku-Turso already has stuff like fully recorded. Suotana and From the Void have drums recorded for the upcoming albums, and it's on the plans for Ravage Machinery as well. So there will be a lot of recordings to do, like in the next, let's say, 4 to 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So we try to like make the best out of this time when the live shows are not possible to be productive, and hopefully like with the 2022 there would be able to be live shows, if not even earlier, but like I will put my money on the year 2022.
Yeah. So because you also work in the event industry a lot, so because the band projects have still been going on, have they been kind of a mental output in a way, because you haven't been able to pretty much do your regular work with the events because of the pandemic, and I would imagine that because that you would hope that the live shows will be available as soon as possible to get back to work too.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah, it has been good that at least there has been like the band stuff that I can do, and the recording stuff where I have like the education and knowledge and experience of doing so. I can do that, but like within the live side it has been like pretty much close to zero. Like, yeah, there were a few shows last year, like just before the pandemic, and like in the end of the summer and early fall, when it seemed that the pandemic would have been like gone better. So there were like few occasions, but like 95 to 97% of my calendar was totally wiped out. So yes, definitely the band thing has been good in a mental way, and of course it's like kind of like investing also to your future, because like when the bands are releasing new material, they are more relevant for that moment, so it will be easier for them to get more shows like afterwards or during that time when the recording is coming out. So I feel it's kind of like investing to the live scene, and of course naturally it's investing to the band and like the continuation of the bands.
Yeah, of course. How about in terms of your other, because I usually with each guest I have been discussing their ways of coping with the situation. So the band stuff is definitely one thing, but have you found something else to do with your kind of spare time? You've been brewing beer, at least with your friends and with your brewery.
Yeah, well, of course, brewing is quite a mentally how would I say, like it eases up like the feeling like within the pandemic that at least you can do something and something you like. The other stuff that I have been doing is like going to fishing, and like last fall hunting way much more than before, because I had really much more time at my hands, and that has been like probably the best bonus in this time, I think. But like the brewing stuff is also very nice, and actually we are going on next Thursday. We are going with my friends to my friend's brewery to make another prototype, and really looking forward of it, because like the previous prototypes that we have been doing like within the past 6 months have been quite nice, and one of them even turned out to be like officially published beer for the Rights of North event that I am organizing. So and it has had a good feedback, like from people that I have heard. So it's always like satisfying to hear that you can do stuff that other people like, and I don't like see there pretty much like difference. That is it music or beer or whatever. Like as long as you're doing something right and it's making people happy, it of course affects to me being happy as well.
Yeah, sure, of course. We're heading towards the end of the interview, so at this point you can give greetings or other announcements to the listeners if you would like to do that.
Yeah, well, I would say that support your local artists in this time of need and buy the merch and CDs and other stuff, so they will have at least some form of income in order to cope up with the situation. Like every penny is worth it, and like, and when the shows come again, like go to the shows and enjoy yourselves. Like don't let yourself too much into the fear that this pandemic has made, because it will be over at some point.
Yeah,
hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if that's all, then I would like to say the regular ending here. Thanks for listening, and stay safe out there.